Someone asked me the other day, what is the one place I should visit if I only have an afternoon in Seoul? Unless they have a specific purpose like shopping or cafe hopping, I always recommend Gyeongbokgung. Why? Because I believe this place holds the absolute essence of Korean history, architecture, and spirit. Today, I'm not just showing you the photo spots, I'm taking you on a full virtual tour to reveal how this palace was built, destroyed, and how it rose from the ashes to become the symbol of modern Korea. By the end of this video, you won't just see a palace, you'll understand the soul of Korea. Before we start, just some quick practical information. Gyeongbokgung is closed every Tuesday. Standard hours are 9 AM to 6 PM, with the last admission at 5 PM. However, in winter, from November to February, it closes an hour early at 5 PM, so you must enter by 4 PM. Tickets are 3,000 won at the gate, but if you are under 19 or over 64, you get in for free. Just make sure to show your physical passport at the ticket booth to prove your age. Or you can rent a hanbok from a nearby store to get free entry. I strongly recommend wearing one, not just for the free ticket, but because it makes for some really amazing photos. If you time your visit right at 10 AM or 2 PM, you can see the Royal Guard changing ceremony right here at the first gate, Gwanghwamun. It's colorful, loud, and completely free. It really sets the mood before you even enter. People often say spring is the best time to visit this palace because the trees and flowers are stunning and nature blends so well with the architecture. But I feel winter has its own unique vibe, which is why I decided to film this video in December. If you want the picture-perfect scenery, spring is the best time to visit. However, if you prefer a calm, quiet atmosphere, winter offers a truly unique experience. We start at Gwanghwamun. The name means the king's light shines upon the world. It sounds peaceful, right? But ironically, the beginning of this palace was anything but peaceful. When the Joseon Dynasty was founded in 1392, the founder King Taejo moved the capital here to Hanyang, which we now call Seoul, and built this Gyeongbokgung Palace. But soon after, a tragedy happened right in this vicinity. The first strife of princes. Ibangwon, King Taejo's fifth son, felt betrayed by his father's choice of successor, his youngest half-brother. So he launched a coup, killing all his half-brothers to seize power. Because of this blood spilled near the palace gates, when Taejong finally became king, he hated staying here. He felt the ghost of his brothers haunting him. This is why he built a separate palace, Changdeokgung, right next to it, and moved there. For the early part of the dynasty, the king actually preferred the backup palace over this one. So the king's light didn't shine upon this palace too long, did it? Passing through the main gate, we arrive at Heungnyemun. Now look at this vast open space. It looks peaceful now, but this specific spot represents the darkest era of modern Korean history. During the Japanese colonial period from 1910 to 1945, Japan wanted to crush the Korean spirit. They deliberately torn down Heungnyemun and built a massive, concrete colonial government headquarters right here. It was designed to block the view of the palace from the outside, literally overshadowing the Korean monarchy. It actually stood here until very recently, 1995. The Korean government finally blew it up and live-streamed it on TV. It was a symbolic moment of reclaiming Korean history. As we walk through the courtyard, look down at your feet. The ground is paved with rough, uneven granite stones called baksok. You might wonder, why is the royal palace floor so bumpy? Did they do a bad job? Actually, this was genius design. There are two main reasons for this rough surface. First, lighting. If this were smooth marble, the strong sunlight would reflect up and blind the king and officials. The rough surface scatters the light, making it soft and easy on the eyes. Second, drainage. These stones are laid with gaps between them, acting as a natural drainage system. Even during heavy summer monsoons, the water flows easily between the cracks, preventing the courtyard from ever flooding. This is the heart of the palace, Geunjeongjeon. This is where coronations took place and where foreign envoys were greeted. Look at the stone markers on the ground. These designated where officials stood based on their rank. Now I want you to look closely inside at the king's throne. Do you see that folding screen behind it with the sun, moon, and mountains? This is called 1월 5봉도, painting of the sun, moon, and 5 peaks. This wasn't just a decoration, it was the symbol of the king's universe. The red sun represents the king, the white moon represents the queen, and the 5 peaks represent the land of Korea. But here's the fascinating part. Philosophically, this painting is considered incomplete on its own. It is only complete when the king sits in front of it. The king is the final element that brings balance to the universe. That is why, wherever the king went, this screen always traveled with him. Without the king, the universe is considered incomplete. But this place has another dark history. This is a painting of Gyeongbokgung Palace from 1754. Do you notice it missing almost everything? It was left abandoned for almost 3 centuries. In 1592, during the Imjin War, the Japanese invasion, this entire palace was burned down. King Seonjo had to flee the capital. For the next 273 years, Gyeongbokgung was abandoned. It even became a home and shelter for wildlife during that time. It wasn't until 1867 that the regent Heungsan Daewongun, the father of King Gojong, decided to rebuild it when he was in power. In that time of Korean history, the authority of the royal family had been at rock bottom for almost 70 years. So he wanted to show that the royal family was still strong and in charge of this country. But his government and the country were broke. To pay for this massive reconstruction project, he issued a coin called dangbekjeon, which was valued at 100 times the normal currency. Now we know what happens if you simply print more money to solve problems. Massive inflation. The price of everything skyrocketed and the people suffered. While this building is magnificent, it was built on the tears and heavy taxes of the common people. It effectively weakened the country just as foreign powers were knocking on the door. Shortly after, Korea fell into the hands of the Japanese Empire in 1910. Behind the throne hall is Sajeongjeon, the king's executive office. If Geunjeongjeon was for show, this is for work. The king held morning meetings with his ministers here every single day. If you look over there to the left, you'll see a building called Sujeongjeon. That site is incredibly important. That is where the Jipyeonjeon Hall of Worthies used to stand. This is where King Sejong the Great, the greatest king in Korean history without a doubt, created Hangeul, the Korean alphabet, in 1443. Before that, only the elites who knew Chinese characters could read and write. King Sejong created Hangeul so that even the poorest commoner could express their thoughts. It changed Korea forever. Before entering Gyeongbokgung Palace, you might have noticed 2 giant statues in front of Gwanghwamun. They represent the 2 most respected figures in Korean history, and King Sejong the Great is one of them. This shows just how important King Sejong and Hangeul are to the Korean people. Moving deeper, we reach Gangnyeongjeon, the king's bedroom. Here's a fun architectural secret. Look at the roof of the king's bedroom. Do you notice something missing? Most buildings have a white ridge on top called Yongmaru, the dragon ridge. But the king's bedroom doesn't. Why? Because the king is the dragon, and 2 dragons cannot exist in one sky. The roof doesn't dare press down on the king. But speaking of roofs, look at the corners of the other buildings nearby. Do you see those little figurines lined up in a row? They look like little monkeys or gargoyles. These are called Jabsang. They aren't just decorations. In the old days, people believed these spiritual guards would ward off evil spirits and protect the wooden palace from fire. The more important the building, the more Jabsang figures it has. So next time you visit Korea and royal palaces, you can count them to guess which building was the most important. Right behind the king's bedroom, we have the queen's quarters, Gyotaejeon. And behind the queen's quarters, check out this terraced garden, Amisan. See these beautiful orange brick structures? They're actually chimneys for the floor heating system, or Ondol. Now Ondol literally means warm stone. Here's how the magic worked. Outside the room, usually in the kitchen, there was a furnace called an agungi. When they lit a fire there to cook rice, the heat and smoke didn't just fly away. Instead, it was pulled into horizontal tunnels running underneath the floor called gore. These tunnels heated up massive flat stones called gudur that made up the floor. These stones were amazing at holding heat, keeping the room warm long after the fire died out. This is actually why Koreans have a culture of taking off shoes indoors and sitting or sleeping on the floor, because the floor is the warmest place in the house. In modern Korea, this system's concept is still used in almost every house and even apartment, but with a twist. Instead of wood smoke, which could be dangerous, now it's hot water pipes. But the spirit is the same. Warm floor, warm home. Now we're taking a slight detour to the east side of the living quarters. This is Jagyeongjeon. While the other buildings were for the king and queen, this building was built for the Queen Dowager, Queen Sejong. Remember Heungsan Daewongun, the man who rebuilt this palace? He actually built this specific house for Queen Sejong because she is one of the few who helped him seize power as a regent. He built this for her as a political thank you gift. But the real reason we are here is this wall, the 10 symbols of longevity chimney. If you look closely, it's not just a wall, it's a masterpiece. You can see 10 specific carvings: sun, mountains, water, clouds, rocks, pine trees, turtles, cranes, deer, and the mushroom of immortality. In Joseon times, these symbolized eternal life. They carved them here to wish the Queen Mother a long, healthy life. Most tourists miss this because it's tucked in the back, but the orange brick patterns make for one of the most sophisticated backgrounds for Hanbok photos. The lighting here in the afternoon is perfect. If you thought the palace was just stiff formal buildings, look at this. This is Hyangwonjeong. The name means the scent of fragrance spreads far. We are going to see another pavilion, Gyeonghoeru, soon, but there is a big difference. The other one was for business, hosting diplomats. This one was for pleasure. This was the king's private resting place for his family. Notice the bridge connecting to it? It's called Hyangwonjeong. For a long time, this bridge was on the wrong side of the island due to the Korean War, but recently it was restored to its original position. Now I'll give you a photo tip. This is widely considered the most beautiful spot in the entire palace, especially in autumn or when the lotus blooms in summer. You want to stand near the trees on the edge of the pond to frame the pavilion and its reflection in the water. It looks like a painting. Now, right behind this beautiful pavilion lies a place of tragedy, Geoncheonggung. I want you to pause and look at the wood on this building. Does it look different from the rest of the palace? On all the other buildings we saw, the wood was painted with vibrant colors: red, green, blue, yellow, black, and white. That style is called dancheong. It isn't just for looks. It protects the wood from rain and insects, and it shows the dignity and rank of the building. But look at Geoncheonggung. It has no dancheong. It is just plain unpainted wood. This was intentional. King Gojong built this in 1873 because he wanted to live like his Hadebu, a noble scholar, away from the suffocating formality of the court. He wanted a place of independence and simplicity. But sadly, this quiet dream home became the site of the nightmare. The Empress, his wife, was assassinated at this very site, and it's called Ulmi Incident in 1895. At that time, Japan was trying to expand its control over Korea. But King Gojong's wife, Empress Myeongseong, was a brilliant diplomat who blocked them. She was building strong ties with Russia to keep Japan in check. Seeing her as a threat, Japanese assassins broke into this very house, the king's private sanctuary, and assassinated her. It is a heartbreaking reminder that this palace was at the center of the geopolitical storm that eventually led to colonization. We end our tour at the most photogenic spot, Gyeonghoeru. This pavilion is built on a man-made pond. It was used for royal banquets and welcoming diplomats. But like everything in Gyeongbokgung, it has a sad story. There was a young king named Danjong. He was only 12 years old and the year was 1454. His uncle, Prince Soyang, who became King Sejong later, pressured him to give up the throne. Historical records say that it was here, in this beautiful setting, that the young boy king handed over the royal seal to his uncle, effectively signing his own death warrant. He was later exiled and executed. So when you look at this water, you see the beauty of this architecture, but also the reflection of a brutal power struggle. Please note that you can only enter the pavilion itself with a reservation. Special viewing reservations typically open from May to June and September to October. So if you are visiting during this time, make sure to book one and take your Gyeongbokgung Palace tour to the next level. Now the tour ends here, but your journey shouldn't. You are in the perfect spot to continue exploring. If you want to see the actual treasures and artifacts we talked about today, head to the National Palace Museum of Korea. It's located right near the main entrance Gwanghwamun, and it is completely free. If you're interested in how the common people lived during the Joseon Dynasty, exit through the East Gate. You'll find the National Folk Museum of Korea. It's fascinating to compare the royal life we just saw with the life of everyday Koreans. And for a walk, if you exit west, you hit Bukchon Village. It's filled with trendy cafes, galleries, and has a more modern, artistic vibe. If you exit east past the Folk Museum, you reach Bukchon Hanok Village. This is where the high-ranking officials lived, so you'll see hundreds of beautiful traditional houses. Now before you rush off to take that perfect Instagram shot at Bukchon Hanok Village, there is one crucial update you need to know. As of November 2024, Seoul City has officially designated a red zone as a special management area inside the Bukchon Hanok Village. This means there is now a curfew for tourists. You are only allowed to visit between 10 AM to 5 PM. If you're caught wandering there outside these hours, you could face a fine. It's not just a suggestion, it's a rule to protect the residents who actually live in these beautiful homes and have been suffering from excessive noises and lack of privacy. So please be a respectful traveler, visit during the day, keep your voice down, and let the locals have their peaceful evenings back. Gyeongbokgung is a place of contrast, beauty and tragedy, history and modernity. I hope this virtual tour helped you understand the soul of Korea. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.